if all the illustrations maybe have elderly people, these are books for
but how do you do
children.
that? You tell a 10-year-old, no, draw a different picture? Or do you how do you address that? The concrete details are the part I'm trying to understand better.
We communicate with the writing mentor. Then in the process of these Skype sessions, there are going to be 4 of them this semester, and the first one is tomorrow. They talk with their writer about the issues that they see and discuss how they can fix it. If there is an impasse and they really can't do it, we do have IU students who are also, they call themselves collaborators. They're also Global Village residents who are charged themselves with learning as much as they can about Rwandan culture, and they're available to step in and help. And sometimes they just do the illustrations, or they help find another student who can do the illustrations, or something like that. So.
Having known 10-year-olds, getting someone to redraw a picture a second time is even harder than trying to get a faculty member to rewrite something.
Yeah. In some cases, there have been like 3 or 4 people who actually had their names on the bylines of a story because everybody contributed to it. It wasn't just, the writing partners themselves. But I was just pulling this up because this is a flip book that's on the IU website that shows some of the Rwandan stories. So, like I said, the Rwandan process is different. The kids there drew in ink or pencil or colored pencil. And then in the States, the collaborators scanned the stories and then laid them out. Okay, so there was no chance to go back and edit them or change them. That process is still pretty different. Here's some more examples of Rwandan stories. And then this is an example of a story that was written by one of the students from New Jersey. Okay. The layout is different because the way we set up the layout is part of the process that the writing mentors go through to help their students to not only write the story, but choose the layout and illustrate it, choose where the illustrations are going to go, and so forth. And we're hoping that eventually we'll be able to supply, Microsoft Publisher to the high school students in Rwanda who are now starting for the first time to help the students there to write their stories so that they can have a similar process. This just gives you an example of what the illustrations are like. And they do tell a story. They participate in the story. I thought this one worked out quite well.
You talked about the linguistic challenges of the American students who are writing for English language learners. And I'm wondering from the other side where the children would get support for their struggling English as they were beginning to, put together their stories.
Yeah, the process that the teachers there settled on was to have the 6th graders write their first draft in Kinyarwanda. And then the teachers would help the students to translate them into English. And then the students had to go back and rewrite the stories in English. Okay. But this is a situation where the whole school is transitioning very quickly from a French medium to an English medium. And the teachers themselves are learning English. And they've been teaching in French their entire careers. And so they've had 2 years now to transition, but it's a difficult process. This year they decided that they weren't going to try to prepare all of the stories to the level where they would send them to us. They were going to select 12 of them. So they drafted them for the first time in June when we were there with the secondary students. And they drafted them and translated them, and then the teachers selected 12 to send to us, and they just arrived recently. And then the collaborators are going to edit them and lay them out, and they'll be in a big layout like this year because there won't be so many of them. Karen.
So, of course, I love the layers of this, of you helping writing mentors, helping children in New Jersey, writing for an audience in Rwanda.
Right.
And it's making me think about how we think about this more widely among our writing classes and thinking about the literacy resources that children bring. And I noticed that in the writing, some of the writing that you were doing, you were thinking about how to simplify it in an English style. And I wonder, it makes me think of what would happen by reversing that and starting with the Rwanda language structures, similar to what Catherine Out did with Story Talk in Hawaii or that and thinking from that perspective and how we might incorporate that into our early childhood, language arts methods courses for English language learners here in a much simpler kind of way. So, I'm thinking about the tensions of starting from an English language structure and starting from the Rwanda language structure. What kinds of differences there might be.
Right. Well, I'd say two things about that. One is that this year we were able to get to know a family here in Bloomington from Rwanda. And so a couple of us have been going and taking Kinyarwanda lessons every week, and it's been a very interesting process because it's quite a different grammatical system. The second is that the Books and Beyond project is growing. And this semester, there is a fine arts class that's doing a service learning project where they're designing promotional materials, a brochure, and so forth. And they also reviewed the books and gave suggestions to the undergrads who are doing the editing and so forth on how they could better lay out the book and make it look more professional. So that's a service learning project for them. And if there are faculty members here or AIs who are interested in developing some kind of a service learning project as a part of their courses that could contribute in some way to Books and Beyond, something that would fit, pedagogically into your curriculum, I would love to talk to you about it. I'm very open to doing that. Yeah. Are we out of time?
You are. Yeah.
Perfect. All right.
Thank you so much for your joint presentation, and if we can be so bold to ask you and the other presenters to have your presentation posted on the SLED website, if that is okay.